get you on the radio. Yeah, you gotta get on the radio. It doesn't take a long time.
You gotta get on the radio. Welcome back to Around the House Saturday Podcast Edition. I'm Eric G.
I'm Dane Vaughter.
Welcome to hour number 2. We're halfway through the show already.
If you missed it, check that podcast. The track before this one is going to be the one you're going to want to listen to, and then come back and get hour number 2, because we'll probably talk about a couple things that we talked about in last hour.
Yeah, exactly. So pay attention to that. Give us a call here in the studio, 503-521-7072. That is our new call-in line, 24/7, 7 days a week. Call us, text us, whatever, 503-521-7072. So this is our, hour 2 of the podcast. As we were talking about earlier, up to the 13th of this month here, we're going to have Best Ofs airing on the Radio Northwest Network, and you will see us airing here. I'll let this cat out of the bag on the Envision Network coming up soon. So I'm going to announce that one right now. So that'll be...
That's fresh news.
That's
I don't know if you know
news.
how big
that
news that is.
So we will no longer be on after the 13th, the Radio Northwest Network. So
that is going away.
I think we've got everybody online, so everybody out there, and we're going to be adding 2 new stations as well. So, 1 at least, 2, I think if I can twist some arms this week, we'll have number 2. So, we're working on that right now. So, there's been a lot of work in this remodeling process. So, it's kind of like you see it on remodeling. You watch Chip and Joanna Gaines, ironically, who's on the big monitor here in the studio, because I muted it on the last show on HDTV that was up there. Long story short, there's demo day. That's the day that place looks as bad as it's going to look.
Yep.
We're in the middle of demo day right now, so bear with us.
Well, and going in the future, we're not quite sure. We might be on at a different time on the radio station that you normally listen to us to, so that's all kind of subject to change.
Yeah, it's all working through, so bear with us. We're kind of hammering those details out, but thanks for joining us. So one thing I wanted to touch base on here is our 12 spring fix-ups that can save you money.
You don't need to tell me anything more. Help me save money.
So here we go. Let's dive into it. That yearly upkeep is one of those things that really, it's like your health. If you ignore your health for a decade, it's going to be expensive to fix it later.
Yeah.
Just like your car. If you ignore your car for a decade, it's expensive to fix it later.
I don't know if you can ignore it, like with oil changes and everything. I don't think you can get away with that.
Not going to go well. Your house is the same way.
Yep.
So let's dive into some yearly upkeep stuff, because I tell you what, this is where we kind of have some fun with it. Get that fence dialed in, especially if you have pets.
Yep.
It just took a beating this winter. We had wind, we had rain, we had snow. Wherever you're located, you might have gotten all those in the same week.
Yep.
Including sunshine. But here's the thing. Now's the time to get that dialed in. So get the deck fixed. Make sure that you got all these things with the fence. Make sure your gates are working great. Now, if you're on the west side of Oregon and Washington, guess what? Fence might be a little tight because everything is so waterlogged and soaked up. It might be a little tight. Don't worry about that. It'll chill out a little bit, so it might need a little more adjustment once we get into the summer months, but that'll work pretty well. So get that done, then get it cleaned up, get that thing stained. But here's the thing, it's way too wet right now. So make sure that gets nicely dried out to do that.
And when you say dried, you mean the wood, not the weather.
The wood needs to be, you need to have the wet. I'm not even worried about the rain. You got to follow the directions on that. But you need to make sure that wood has shrunk up and is really, that way it has a place for it to go.
For the sealant to go.
Yeah. If you put a water-based stain on it, it's soaking wet wood, guess what?
It's going to fall right off.
Not going to be a good thing. So take your time, let it dry out, and do it right so you're not doing it again, and you got to buy expensive stain again. So just slow down a little bit. So take a little time and really spend some time cleaning it. Prep work on that. I know it's your fence. You go, who cares? But that prep work will keep you from doing it again soon. So be smart about it. All right. Hear that noise? That's my soapbox.
Yeah, I'm going to get a seatbelt on and buckle in because I'm going to be here for a minute.
Buckle in on this one. Number 2, hook up a rain barrel. Let me tell you a little about rain barrels. I have no problem people collecting rainwater. Don't get me there. But if you do this wrong, you're going to cause thousands to tens of thousands, and if you get really zealous, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars of damage to your home.
All for a rain barrel, huh?
All for a rain barrel. So here's what happens. Let's say you live in the Portland area here. You get all excited about that rain barrel and you go hook that rain barrel up. Awesome. Think about the square footage of your roof. Okay?
Okay.
Now, if we get an inch of rain, that's more than what that 50-gallon rain barrel is going to handle.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
You're going to blow that thing up pretty quick. People maybe put 2 or 3 rain barrels. Maybe they get a nice big tank and put it out there. They do. I've seen it. I've been to this house before. So you got the old house. You got a 1,000-gallon tank out back. It's up against the house for the rain barrel to go into because they're going to collect all that water. Problem is that foundation is not meant to have 1,000 pounds sitting next to it day
Right up
after
against
day
it.
or day after day. Now you start pushing the foundation wall in. Big old crack in the foundation. See this happen all the time. Or you get the rain barrel up there and now the water's splashing off the top of that because it's overflowing because maybe you didn't get the overflow hooked up right that's going to go out to where it needs to go, or your bypass done correctly, or you're just not managing it well, and now you got water coming in behind the siding, so now you're rotting the wall out behind it. I have seen this in my career maybe 100 times where it's done more damage than they ever got of collecting
Any
that
good
water.
they got out of it?
No. And the problem is, too, is you got a great rain barrel. What are you going to do with the water? It's not pressurized in there. It's dirty.
Yep.
So I get that it can work, and there's people out there that do a great job with making rain barrels work. But I'll be honest, I'm going to pay extra for my water rates because I don't have to manage it. I'm not going to do damage to my house by it. And I don't have to worry about if I get this rip-roaring rain of that thing filling up, causing a problem, or even worse, causing that damage to my house.
Yep.
So unless you're super active at this, don't do a rain barrel. It's going to cause a ton of problems. Now, if you're Bend Tri-Cities, yeah, you're good.
Because you don't get as much
get
rain
as
as
much
you do
rain.
west of the Cascades.
Yeah, you're okay with that. But they still can get an inch or two of rain and still blow the thing up. So plan ahead for it. Do it right. Make sure you got an excellent bypass. You need to have a filter that goes into that, some kind of screen to keep the stuff from coming, from getting all the leaves in it and getting it nasty because, that doesn't make it any easier. And then you got to figure out a way to use it afterwards. You're not going to hook unless you're putting a pump on it, you're not going to sit there and use that for washing your car.
No.
You can drain it into a slow drain into a garden or something like that. Yeah, you can do some stuff with that, sure. But just think about it a little bit because that can cause a ton of damage to your house. And I've seen homes where they had to replace the back foundation wall or spend a ton of time on it with carbon fiber and stuff that, oh man.
I mean, is the amount of time and the amount of money that you could potentially spend be really worth it?
I have seen multiple times rain collection systems cause over $20,000 of the damage.
I'm not getting $20,000 worth of value out of out of catching my rain personally. I'm not.
No. So just be a little careful with it, guys. I mean, good for you for doing it. Just know what the consequences is if that doesn't go well.
And make sure to dial it in right, like you were saying. You've got to have a filter. There are steps to be taken to do it right.
Yeah, you can do something with it. One thing you can do too that'll help you a little bit out there too, coming into summer months. And I know they're kind of coming back in style right now. Remember those old 50s window awnings?
I remember the automated ones that would come from the top and come over. Yeah.
Come over. You can do some of those now that were pretty cool. And with the new fabrics out there, they'll last. You got that Sunbrella fabric out there that you can have bright colors and have it work awesome.
Yeah.
But some of these awnings can really help you because if you've got a lot of sun coming in some windows, you could pull the blinds on it. You have some great windows. But if you have an awning, man, you're keeping all that heat out of your house.
And you can still get the light. You can bring the light in, but keep the heat.
Keep the heat out. So one of those things, and it's good on, here's another thing I want to talk about. I'm going to get off the reservation here a little bit on this. Something to think about when you've got nice furniture or nice flooring or nice carpets. And I mean nice like, hey, you're buying this to last a long time. Nice can be whatever. I'm not saying it has to be a $10,000 or $20,000 couch.
No, nice to you.
Nice to you. If you want to keep that, get some window tint. You can have companies come in. They do commercial stuff, especially if you're in a higher crime area. if you want to keep windows from getting busted out, they will come in and put a UV tint on the inside of your windows. Kind of like what you do with your car.
Yep.
Put the window tint in. What that does is it's going to take an axe for the firefighter to get through that window, but someone's not going to bust it and smash or grab your
No one's
house.
be able to punch through it.
Exactly. Now, it'll also keep that UV from coming in. So what happens is your hardwoods on your floor look like real hardwoods. If
Yep.
you have oak, it's not going to wash it out.
Not going to
If you have
fade.
cherry, it's not going to darken it and then wash it out. You know, if you've got fabrics, you know, from your nice couch, it's going to stay nice. It's not going to wash out. It's not going to fade, fall apart. You know, you're not going to yellow art if you collect art.
Yeah.
You know, these are all things you can do to help stop that UV that's going to come through there. So if you don't do an awning and don't want to do that, man, a good commercial window tint company coming in, it will change the amount of heat coming in. It'll reflect the light off and bring and reflect a lot of that heat back out without it making it look mirrored or some things like that. So it's a good way to go as far as getting heat savings as well as a little bit of security too. Because if you're in a rougher neighborhood, and I'll be honest, in the Northwest here, and I know other parts of the country it's not this way, but property crimes are not getting lower right now.
No.
I was watching, I'm going to get on my soapbox again here for a second. I was watching that Como news piece that they did up in
Yep.
Seattle here about Seattle dying. And I didn't realize property crimes, how bad it is. And I didn't see what the numbers were from Portland. I don't think it's that much different. Per 100,000 people, I think New York City, I think it was like 1,800 per property crimes per 100,000 in 2017.
Okay.
Seattle was like 5,200.
Oh, dang. About
And the
4
only other
times
place-
more than New York.
4 times more than New York City. And the only place that was a little bit more than them, they were number 2, was San Francisco.
Well, West Coast. It's
West
up
Coast.
and down the West Coast.
Yep. So anyway, something to think about.
Well, and
You
how
know.
expensive is it to do that tinting? I mean,
not bad.
especially when you're going to be able to get the money back and the energy savings you're going to get down the
but
line.
It's pretty easy. I mean, they come in for a day or two, so you're in that, you know, maybe a few $1,000, and again, it's depending on how many windows you're doing.
Yeah.
You know.
How many are facing the sun?
Yeah. So pay attention to that stuff. If you've got a retail building, it's good for that too. That's where I learned out about probably 15 years ago we first used it.
Like a storefront kind of thing?
Storefront, because
Yeah.
we had a cabinet shop, and it was all glass in the front, and the afternoon sun it was an oven in there. So we did that, and we also had somebody come in and smash and grab stuff. So
After you did it or before?
Before that.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it was a 2-for-1.
yeah,
You did
somebody
security
came in and tried to do it a few weeks later, and they couldn't get through the window film.
There you go.
So that was pretty cool.
You learned your lesson.
Yeah, and I got to see what it looked like. You know, that's the fun part. So something to think about with that. So that worked out pretty well. So, all right, let's keep going down the list here. Repair and green up those pathways. So repair, you know, if you got the stone walkway with the grass growing through it, you
Yep.
get that all cleaned up and greened up. If you've got, you know, a patio, a great walkway there that's brick, get that dialed in. If you don't want to do it, there's people out there that do these things, like the wall, you
Yep.
know. Those guys are great for going through and getting stuff figured out. You know, if you don't want to do it, people can do it. And I tell you what, I didn't realize until you really start looking at these things what you can do with permeable brick driveways and brick walkways where you still let water go into the ground, but you still have a nice pathway.
Yeah.
So it is mind-boggling what you can do with those. But a little bit goes a long way with that, especially if you got to worry about having a trip hazard, anything like that. That's one of those big things. If you've got a walkway coming up to the house, somebody trips and falls, guess what? That's on your insurance. So if you've got a really tore up one, good time to go out, especially in the spring. Enjoy some sunshine, go have some fun.
Yeah. I think Allstate or somebody just did a commercial about that. Basically, where
yeah.
you slip and fall and bang, hit your head right there. You've got a hefty medical bill that you're paying for.
Almost like hiring an unlicensed and bonded contractor and having them fall off the roof, and now it's your medical bill, not theirs. So again, those are those things that you got to be careful with.
All you got to do is say one word to get you back on that soapbox again.
Oh yeah,
Next door.
next door. Oh geez, here we go.
Maybe next week.
Maybe we'll go on that one next week. That's a good one. So here's one too. When you're out there walking around, another great spring project here, and this is not our spring project checklist. We'll do that in a few weeks. I'm going to not do that on the podcast.
Yeah.
We're going to do that as a normal radio feature. But make sure that your AC compressor outside the house, that big metal box out there with the big fan on it, make sure that that thing is dialed in. What I mean by dialed in is first, you have your maintenance agreement. You know, I think I'm doing a special right now with Pyramid Heating and Cooling, for instance, where I think it's $119. I think that's what it is. But for them to come out and get everything dialed in and make sure it's good. Because guess what? I guarantee you it's going to be 3 times that when you call up a heating air conditioning company and they got to come out on Sunday afternoon because your house is 105 degrees because you're dying from the heat and you just overwhelmed it and now it's not working. So $100 now, $300 later, but that's how that's going to go.
Well, and we've when we were at the Spring Home and Garden Show with Pyramid Heating and Cooling, we were talking about keeping your outside, your air conditioner nice and clean, and you can even run a hose on it or whatnot. It's made.
That's where I learned a new tip.
Yeah.
When you're trying to keep it really cool inside, and we've got that hot day out there, go set a sprinkler up on it.
Keep it cool.
Keep it cool, because now that sprinkler is going to sit there and help that the heat transfer off of it. I'm like, duh.
The AC unit won't have to work as hard.
Yep, because you're doing that. So here's the thing. Get all the leaves, grass clippings, dirt, nests, whatever you have in that thing. Get it all cleaned up around it. Make sure the bushes are trimmed back. You need to have airflow around this. So if you've got landscaping that's out of control, get it under control.
Tighten it up.
Yeah, tighten it up a little bit. I mean, if that thing out there is nasty and dirty, it can increase your energy costs by up to 40% on a heat pump.
You don't want to be paying an extra 40%.
Not when you can spend a half hour and get it
Clean
all
it
dialed
up.
in.
Yeah.
So save yourself some money and get out there and dial that in. It's a big one. So here's another thing to do too right now after the winter. Make sure you got all those foundation vents and all those things kind of cleaned up, looking good. Maybe it's the vent going into the bath fans that come out through the wall or the soffit or the roof or any of that. Just get that stuff dialed in, because guess what? Those birds and wasps want to get in around it. So
Mine still have the I still have styrofoam in them.
yeah, you're not going to get any more freezes on that.
Yeah, pop those out.
Pop out. Get that good airflow in there. I'm good with that. If you compost, it's a good time to get out there and get that thing also dialed in. Get it shaken up a little bit out there. Get it dug up, because it's been sitting there not really rotting well. So probably pretty nasty actually right now after the whole winter. We've been pretty warm, but if you're one of those, one of our locations here where it's been frozen for the whole time, you just got a bunch of frozen stuff out there. So.
Yeah, going to want to shake that up.
Yeah. Put on a dust mask, wash your hands afterwards. Might not be awesome, but if you want to build one, it's a good time to build one out there.
Yeah.
So you can build stuff out of, I like to use treated boards out there for that just because, with the new healthier treated stuff, you can get away with it. Otherwise, it tends to break the wood down.
Okay.
Because you're trying to rot things, and now you're
it's going to rot the wood that you have it in
too. So that's a good one. So now here's something that's kind of cool. This is going to be fun, and you got to be careful with this because it can get out of control if you don't do it. If you've got a hot area like a back deck or something like that, you can build a green screen. What's a green screen?
We're not talking like video production.
No,
green screen.
I'm not going to be doing the weather. But with this, what you can do is you can build like a really nice lattice trellis. And no, I'm not saying go down and get the cheesy diagonal stuff that I hate that's from the home center.
Yeah. I had that in my house growing up.
Yeah. I mean, that's great for the 60s and 70s, but, there's better ways to do it.
There's updated versions.
Yeah, so you build a nice grid one that's solid. You can grow anything up at like a trellis. And it's a cooling agent for you.
Yep, gives you some shade.
Gives you some shade. Now, it will collect some bugs because it is a plant.
Yep.
Make sure it's not climbing up on your brick, all that kind of stuff, because that will do damage. But if you go through that and build it right and make sure you designed it so it's going to take wind load. Because think about this. If you build a 12-foot long by 10-foot high trellis, think of the wind load on that, because you're going to put leaves and stuff on it. You got one hell of a sail. So
more resistance means you're going to be taking on more wind. Means it needs to be stronger.
So dial in on that. Overbuild that, because otherwise it's going to be laying across your patio furniture one day. And just take some time, build that right. So get it right, make sure it's good, and it's going to really give you privacy, especially if you got that neighbor that maybe goes out and does the sunbathing that nobody wants to see next door.
But he can do that.
He can do that. It's his right.
Doesn't mean you have to be able to look at it.
Doesn't mean you want to look at it. So here's the thing. You can build a screen and take care of that. So that's another one here too. And we had one on, this is a good tip. This was on our Around the House Nation, which is our Facebook page. Around the House with Eric G is us, but we have the Around the House Nation, which is our sharing site. And we had a gentleman on there that had a serious house problem with his neighbor's retaining wall.
Yes.
Failed.
Oh.
And it appeared that his house was sinking.
Yeah.
Now, here's the problem. As a homeowner, I'm not an attorney, nor do I play one on TV. But if you have a poorly built retaining wall that has failed, that is holding up the soil that's your neighbor's and his house, and you haven't maintained that properly, there's some possibility, some liability there.
Yeah. Again, possibility.
Possibility. Now, you got to be careful with this, because what can happen with that is that if you haven't maintained it, or it was built incorrectly, or there wasn't a permit pulled on it, or maybe it was just the clown that owned the house before you that thought they were Mr. Handy and decided to build this, you still own it.
It's still yours now.
Still yours. So build the correct retaining wall with the right drainage, all of that stuff. If you are not ready to build that yourself, hire somebody to come do it and maintain it. Prevent the erosion around it. Dial it in. If you get a landslide, you're in big problems. Now, if you have a landslide, now you got to get a geotechnical engineer in there if the earth is moving.
Yeah.
And now, who knows what that's going to cost? You could have $10,000. You could have $20,000. You could have $100,000.
Now, what should somebody do? Say they're in this situation and they bought this house and they have this poorly made retaining wall. Basically, at that point, call somebody, get them out there, take a look at it, I imagine.
If you're the homeowner and it's your retaining wall, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd have somebody like The Wall come out. We talked about them earlier.
Yep.
But I'd have them come out. They are retaining wall experts. They're going to tell you if they can save it. They're going to tell you if you're in a mess and you got to start over and do it again. So if it's going to be a DIY project, then get a structural engineer out there. They're going to come out and start telling you what needs to happen with that. So they'll get out there. They'll take a peek at it. They'll measure it. They're going to look and see. They're going to tell you what kind of footing you need to do. And then they're going to have to, if it's over a couple feet high, I think it's 3 feet high in most areas, they're going to have to fill out the building permits to build this thing, which means they got to do engineering. So you're going to spend a few $1,000s to get engineering done so you can get the permit stage on that. Now, if you hire a company, they've got their own engineers who are going to do it.
Yeah.
And who knows, if the soil's bad below that, you might have to put some push piles in. You can be doing helical piers. You can be doing tiebacks. There's a whole bunch of different things that can happen with this. But
it needs to be done.
It's got to be done. And if that neighbor's house, like this one, where their wall fell over, the house is sunk, and the guy's 6 feet away from it with his house, I don't know how that's going to end.
That's a nightmare.
Yeah. I mean, and now your neighbor's going to be mad because you're going after him for his house sinking, and I mean, it's just not going to go well.
Well, but yeah, and like if it were my house that was sinking because of my neighbor's wall, yeah, I'm not going to be happy.
No, nobody's going to be happy. So take a look at that one. All right, I got another one here for you that I think is good. Time to put that screen door up.
Okay, yeah. You're going to want to get some airflow.
Get some airflow. If you got it on the front door, get it on the back door. Make sure you can get some cross airflow. It can save you some money out there. Now, here's the thing. Be careful with that. You don't want to have your screen doors open when it's a high pollen day. Think about those interior health issues you can have by, bad days of, especially in the spring here.
Pollen,
great,
yeah.
I got the windows open, and then the pollen comes blowing out of the fir tree or the cedar tree in your yard, and now you've got this yellow-orange haze over everything in your house.
Or you just have kids like me when I was growing up where you just go by and shake the tree, and then all the pollen would come out, and I'm sure all the people whose houses nearby were going, I hate this little kid. What's he doing?
What's he doing? And he gets bad. So, anyway, screen door is something good. You can also make it security, too. and you can get the good ones out there.
Get the locking ones.
Get the locking ones. We get a glass panel in the wintertime that'll help keep that door a little bit, and then do it. So that can help you a little bit, and especially on that front door. So that's a good one. Man, we just went through all our little ones on there.
Wow.
I like it. We have gone through basically the rest of the show.
Nearly. Now, there's one thing I do. I'm hoping here for in the next couple months, reaching out. We've mentioned it in a couple shows about a gardening expert.
Okay, I will get on that. This has been my fault. I have not reached back out to the gentleman. I'm going to do that. So
it's that time of the year.
It's that time of
It'd
year.
be definitely good to get him on here, at least one of our first couple radio shows once we're back on the radio.
Exactly. So a couple things, and we'll just address it here again. We keep talking about it. So up until April 13th, you are going to hear best ofs on the radio on KXL and the Radio Northwest Network. After the 13th, we're live. We'll do it live.
Back. And we should be back on every station that we were on before we were off the radio.
Probably. There'll be one in Portland
Hopefully.
we won't be on, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
And I'm letting that out of the bag, too.
Yep.
Anyway,
You should still be able to find us in Portland.
you'll find us in Portland for sure.
Somewhere.
So stay tuned. We got these deals working out right now. So once it's all figured out, I'll give a little more information on what's going on.
Of course.
So, I'm not saying anything bad about anybody.
Nope.
But we have got some changes ahead, and it's going to be good. And we're going to be doing bigger and better things for 2019. So stay tuned for that. And like I said, if you're wondering what's going on around the house and you want to get tuned into what we're doing, awesome. Facebook, Around the House with Eric G. You can find it there. And by the way, I do have a new email address.
That's right.
I'm not using that the ATH at KXL anymore. So we have grenaded that one. So ATHEricG@gmail.com.
Okay.
There's our new one.
Write that down.
ATHEricG@gmail.com. That's where we're going from now on.
Alrighty.
So that we're good with. So, hey guys, thanks for listening to our first Saturday podcast that we just kind of came in here and winged today. This has been fun. We'll start putting calls in here next week, so give us a call. And head over to Facebook, and I'm going to put a link up for the calls again over there, so don't worry about writing it down when you're driving around. Be safe. If you go over to Facebook, you'll actually see it's in our page.
Right at the top of the
Right
page.
at the top, and that is 24/7. You can call into that. We'll call you back.
You can text into that as well.
You can text into that as well. We had a couple weeks ago, we actually had somebody that had a quick question, didn't want to go on air. They texted into that and then sent a message on Facebook.
Nice.
So I had pictures on the Facebook, and then they had the message over there.
That worked
It
great.
was awesome. Even the message on Facebook, we'll get into that. But stay tuned for that. We've got some super exciting things. So thanks, everybody. We really appreciate it. And thanks for listening Around the House.
Around the House with Eric G is designed by Eric G LLC. All rights reserved, copyright 2019. We will be back next week. If you missed part of the show, check out the podcast and all the shows at AroundTheHouseOnline.com. Remember, measure with a micrometer, mark with chalk, and cut with an axe. Thanks for listening to Around the House.
We're all